Hello, class. Now we go to the second to the last of our discussion, talking of relationships of control as political concepts. So we are all just covering some terms, some concepts that you will constantly encounter in our next discussions. So this time we will talk about the power, influence, authority, legitimacy, and linkage. This one is talking here of the extent of power that one, or the extent of control that one has. The biggest control that one has would be for somebody who has a power. What does a power mean? It means getting others to comply by creating the prospect of severe sanctions for non-compliance. So here the power has government over the people, because if the people will not obey the law, then we know that the government has the power to put that person to jail for a violation of the law. So there is a severe sanction. However, in political analysis, it doesn't have to be like that. It For as long as something has, or somebody has, an influence over the behavior of others in a manner not of their own choosing. Like, even if you do not want to do that, but you have been told to do that, then you will still do it. Because you know that you are, I don't know, because the person has a power over you. It is referred to in terms of having power over others. Now, look here in this image that we have here. A has power over B. If A can get B to do something B would not do. Now, in the case of the image that we have here, so you know what would be what this one represents, and then we have an idea of who this is also, and then we have this signage here. Now, this would of course be obviously a criticism of the current administration, but is this correct? Is it really portraying that China has power over this current administration? Hopefully not. Okay, so this one is just to showcase what power means in the political analysis. Now, next, we have influence. Influence would have a lesser impact or lesser control than that of power. It is a condition in which one party's desires affect the behavior of another party. So what's the difference between power over influence? In the case of power, somebody can control that other person to do something. In the case of influence, it might or might not have that kind of control, because it's just an influence. So it's possible to sway that person or not. So here in the case of the pictures that we have here, so what is the extent of influence that the president has over this person and this person? Can it be just merely influence, or it's already a power? Who knows? Okay, but hopefully not, because they should be independent from each other. Next, we have authority. Authority is the right to exercise the power and influence of a particular position that comes from having been placed in that position according to regular, known, and widely accepted procedures. So this one is very important also, because it means that whoever is in authority would have the capacity to do something that he or she wants, within, of course, the limitations set by law. And what made that person become a person in authority? Well, what would be a regular, known, and widely accepted procedures? In the case of the Philippines, it would be through voting. So the next topic, we will talk more about that. So here, in the case of my example here, whatever you think of the president now, well, we can form opinion, we can criticize, we can complain, but at the end of the day, he is the one in authority, and therefore he has to be obeyed within the limitations set by law. However, there is something that has authority over the president, and what is that? The highest law of the land, the Constitution. That's why it's important for us to study the Constitution, because it will protect us from abuses if some abuses would happen. Okay, next, we have legitimacy. Illegitimacy is a condition of being considered to be correctly placed in a particular role and to be carrying out the functions of that role correctly. So here, in some cases, it's possible for one to become a president, but not yet legitimate. That's what happened in the case of President Cory Aquino. When she was put into power, we cannot say yet that she was there legitimately or in the legal way because she was put into power through revolution. So she can only be put in that position, or she can only legitimize her position if there is a law telling her that yes, you are now the president. So they had to create the 1987 Constitution, and that legalized or legitimated, if there is such a word, her position. So political legitimacy implies having widespread approval for the way one exercises political power. So you have to understand how important it is for you to exercise your right to vote. Because if you will not vote, then that means that you are, no, you have just allowed somebody, probably somebody who is not so good. So you have to exercise your right. And then the last concept that we have here, linkage, ways in which decisions in one nation may be made so as to force desired decisions in another. So this time now, we are talking of the power of a nation over another. So it's possible for them to do that. Like for example, again, you have China, Russia, US. These are the superpowers. That is why they are called powers, because they know that they have some sort of control to some other states or some other nations. Okay? So, sino kakampi mo? Who would be the big brother of the Philippines here now? So, those are the questions. But when we talk about the local politics, this would be the way pressure groups, political parties, and electoral processes connect the general public with the leaders who make policy decisions. So, like for example, again, you want to rally, you are demanding something, and what you're going to do is to look for a group who will help you rally that, or who will link you with a government official so that they can create a policy that will help the cause of the people. Okay, so those are the 5 concepts. Now talking of the different level of power, why, or control. Why is that important again? Because in politics there is a power struggle. In politics, you want as much as possible to have control so that it will be easier to manage the resources. Okay, so we will go now to the last part. I'll just continue here now. The quality of life concepts related to politics. We have equality, freedom, order, and progress. So they are all related to how we will change or how we will live our lives. Inequality, this one again is a crucial part in how we exercise democracy. It's an equal right to participate in the political process and to be treated equally by it. So this one is not telling us equality in all sense of things, like everybody should have equal money, equal stature. So it's not like that. It only means that one must have an equal opportunity to exercise, or to exercise his political rights. So opportunity, this is what we are talking about here. So everybody should have the right to vote. For as long as you are not limited or you did not do something wrong, then you have the right to vote. And everybody should have the right to run for public office. So some people would say, oh, bakit dapat nakatapos yan? But in our system, our interpretation of equality, everybody should not be denied that right by virtue of not being educated. Kasi paano kung mahirap lang siya? So parang kinawawalan natin siya dahil sa pagiging mahirap niya. So yun yung mga klase ng equality that we are talking about here. Next, freedom. There are 2 ways of interpreting freedom. We have freedom to, which would be the freedom to talk, the freedom to dance, the freedom to express yourself. Ito yung pwede mong gawin. And then the freedom from. Dapat may kalayaan ka mula sa mga ito. So what would be that freedom from? Freedom from abuse of the government, freedom from being kept in jail without a case filed against you. Freedom from there are so many ways by which you are being protected by the law because they are not supposed to do that to you. So yan yung freedom from. Now next, we have order. Now, an organized world is good and in fact almost a necessity for our sanity. Now, we must be able to organize our relationship with one another. Hindi pwedeng walang label, hindi pwedeng hindi mo alam. So, dapat alam natin anong role mo sa akin. Why is that crucial or why is that important? Because then you will be able to define your role. Alam mo kung ano expectations. Alam mo kung ano yung mga dapat mong gawin because that relationship is already organized. So like for example, in a political structure, if you say, oh ikaw, sige, itong gawin mo. Sandali na, hindi ko pwedeng gawin yan. Kasi nasa judiciary ako, ito yung trabaho ko. Hindi ko, so alam nila, alam ng three branches kung anong dapat gawin nilang tatlo. So there is order. And then the last one, the last concept in this topic, progress. The scarce resources are allocated throughout the polity, thereby improving human conditions. See, the main reason why these resources are divided or shared all throughout the polity, the main purpose is to make sure that there is an improvement in the human conditions. So kung ang tingin natin ang sagot sa ating problema ay kulang ng kakulangan ng edukasyon, then we should allot a bigger budget to the Department of Education because we know that that will improve the human conditions and eventually the condition of the Philippines as well. But if we think that that is not so important, then we should place, say, for example, tingin natin mas mag-i-improve ang buhay natin kapag ka-military binigyan natin ng mas malaking budget, then ganun ang gawin natin. So it depends on what we think would make an improvement in the human conditions. Okay, so there are so many concepts that have been discussed. I hope that you were able to understand them at least, and try to use them in the sentence so that you can practice, especially if you have a new word, then you can practice them over and over again, use them over and over again so that it will be part of your vocabulary. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you in the next topics that we have. God bless you all.